Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, They Just Aren't What They Used to Be. They just aren't what they used to be. Relatives whose minds are perishing. Okay? These are relatives who may have once been very strong in their minds, in their physical activities. But now they have reached a point where they're just not saying and doing things in a way that's logical, in a way that we're used to, in a way that you and others can identify with. Sometimes the mind is strong, but other times it isn't. The mind, the Lord showed me in the spirit, is perishing. The mind has gone reprobate because God has allowed it. The mind is dying because one isn't strengthening his or her mind, body, spirit. The mind has gone mad due to tragedy, due to trauma. People who have systematically gone through much brainwashing, their mind begins to deteriorate, okay? It is hard to believe. It is hard to believe for some people who have been close to their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, nephews, and nieces. When you explain to them that aunt isn't in her right mind, they don't want to believe that, especially after that aunt or some other relative has called you up and told you some things. And you know that this is foolish. This is crazy. This is downright lying. But that one who has also heard the information doesn't want to deal with the fact that it's incorrect. It's not factual. It's unbelievable. Auntie just crazy. Right? Wait a minute. They don't want to believe that, you see. And so when you are that messenger of bad news, when you are that one that exposes, when you are that one that says, look at the track record, they have a long history of drug use. They have a long history of alcohol abuse. Look at how they have been eating. The doctor has explained over and over again, they need to lose the weight. They're on prescription medicine. The prescription medicine has them going wacky. What they're saying doesn't make sense. You're not making sense. Oh. I'm not making sense. Yeah, you're not making sense. There's no way that my mother's mind is going. I got to witness this sort of thing take place with some relatives when, in fact, the mother's mind was going. She was saying some off-the-wall things. She was going back carrying all sorts of information between relatives that when her mind was right, she would have never done. Okay? There were times where she was on point, but then other times she was illogical. She was forgetting some things. I'll tell you, a personal prayer of mine was that as my mind begins to go south and I'm not what you're used to hearing, I ask the Lord to make sure that I'm not on any type of audio devices in my old age, that I am not writing. I'm not doing too much of anything dealing with the public on that level. You see, because you might say something that you don't have no business saying. You might lead people in a direction because your crazy mind done took them somewhere. You see, you've got to be stable-minded, sober-minded. But there are those who are in our circles that they are not as youthful and strong and vibrant as they once were. And what makes it even worse is they don't want to admit. They don't want to admit that they're failing in their mind, in their body, in their spirit. They want you to believe that I'm the same old. Back in the day, you know how we roll. No, you're not. Somebody got to tell their sister, their brother, their cousin, their mother, their father, you're not the same. And you might, unfortunately, not be welcomed at the next holiday event. You might be that one that relative whose mind is going to talk bad about to those others who still believe that grandma got it, auntie's still doing that doggone thing, and daddy's still smart. Okay. But we know differently. And this is why some of us have the division in the family. Because there were those individuals who did not want to believe that minds were slowly but surely going downward. That those individuals were losing it. They were emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically unstable. I know that some folks want to believe in the fantasy of their own minds, want to believe in the delusions, want to believe that relatives don't age, that all of their past partying don't catch up to them. But I'm here to give you the bad report. Yes, it does. God has moved on so many people to pay close attention to relatives, to separate fact from fiction, to separate the truth from the lie. But those who are in denial want to believe the lies. They want to believe that people are not losing it when they really are. If you sit in front of a television screen and you're watching a certain genre of movies over and over and over and over again, after a while it plays in your mind, doesn't it? You go to sleep, you have dreams, you wake up, you start getting a bit paranoid, especially when it's horror films. It starts playing on your mind, right? You got some individuals who they have all sorts of things that they've been bombarded with, like troubles of all sorts, and it starts to affect their minds. You got some folks who, because they can't handle life's challenges, they want to project their weaknesses, their paranoia, their upset, their confusion onto those who are stable-minded, sober-minded. But I tell you, you fight for your mind. You fight for your sanity among the insane, among the delusional, among the dead, the walking dead, that is. They are spiritually dead, the Lord says. This is why they have no problem supporting those who have lost their minds, or they're in the stages of losing their minds on the foolishness. Not supporting them on healthy thinking, functional thinking, logical thinking. No, on illogical thinking. Some of them will even pretend to be the character that relative has dreamt up in his or her mind, just so that I can have a dialogue, just so that I can have a connection. That's not cool. That's not cool. Because see, sometimes people, they don't need the fantasy, right? It's not about entertainment when my mind is going. I don't need you to pretend like you're my deceased mother. I don't need you to pretend like you're my sister when my mind is going. I just want you to see me, to truly see me, and to reintroduce who you are to me. Oh, those who have witnessed, those who have gone through dementia, Alzheimer's, they know what I'm talking about. I know for some people that goes over your head. But there are these characters that some people dream up in their heads. And some folks will go along with the programming because, well, it makes mama happy, it makes daddy happy, or what have you. But sometimes there is that God, right, that we pray to, that he says that advice that the counselor gave you, and what you reasoned in your mind to be okay and all right to do with someone whose mind is ailing. No. This is what I want you to say. This is how I want you to behave. This is what I want you to do. And trust you me, this person's spirit is going to be fulfilled. You see, sometimes God gives some family members who are witnessing their relatives who are losing their minds some interesting insight. And as a counselor, teacher, educator, leader, psychologist, doctor, what have you, you have to stand down and allow certain things to unfold. I know it's not what the book says. I know it's not what you're used to. I know it's not what all of your doctorate that you've achieved says is right. But sometimes some things have to be a bit unorthodox. They are losing their minds. And you have these individuals who are the supportive ones, the favorite ones, the golden children, what have you, who are in denial. Your brother is not who he was when you knew him. Have you sat back and counted up all of the things that he's gone through, his losses? Your sister is not where she used to be. Have you considered all of the things that she has been experiencing lately? Your mother is not your mother. She went through some tragic situation recently. Your husband is not that one that you met 30 some years ago. You know all of the trials your family has undergone. Why would you think he would remain the same? Your wife has been through her share of issues. The Lord speaks, you see. He tells us some things in the quiet of the day or when we're driving or walking, and we have this unsettling feeling within ourselves about someone who we're close to or maybe once was. And God says he or she was losing her or his mind. Wow. Yeah. That last family holiday event or gathering, somebody just left you feeling awkward. I'm talking to somebody. That individual made you feel a bit strange. What was coming out of his or her mouth was weird. I don't recall her being so eccentric. People who are currently on drugs. People whose mind is healing from drugs. Whether it's legal or illegal, tend to act a bit strange. I don't know if I can talk to her again. I don't know if I trust my children around this person. You shouldn't. Especially when they're going through a lot. You shouldn't. Why would you think that somebody who's been through a traumatic experience is going to always be that sweet, loving, kind person? When you see paranoia show up, when you see forgetfulness show up, red flags. Here we go. Here go those signs. When you see that somebody is saying that they see something, but that's not evident, it's not real. What is it that they're pointing to? Because I don't see anything. When the individual is just staring at you. Just staring. And you're trying to pinpoint in your head, what exactly did I say? You ask them and they say, I'm not staring at you. When the person is saying some off-the-wall things, some colorful things, or they're doing a whole lot of cursing, and it's just not necessary. When the person says very disrespectful, nasty things about faith, when they make excuses as to why they're behaving so ornery, you see, these are those small things, yet they grow into bigger things later. You hear from family members who may have once been in denial. Yeah, I think you're right. What do you mean? She kept repeating her statement over and over and over again. I think you're correct. She forgot about 3 or 4 things that she would have never forgot before. I think you're correct. There is something wrong. You see? When individuals slowly but surely started losing their minds in the family, there were the phone calls that were made. There were counselors and doctors involved. There were various programs. I mean, you can look up these sorts of things simply by putting in the mental health agencies that are in your area, those who deal with the senior citizens and the various support groups for them as well. those who still want their independent living, but yet my mind isn't always where it needs to be. There are those nurses that come, and if you income qualify, or that individual income qualifies, you can get these services for free. Okay? You've got some folks that you thought that they were okay and all right to live independently. You thought that, okay, I think that his mind is where it needs to be. Let me go ahead on and give him the keys to the car. And some of you all, you learned the hard way, didn't you? They got into a whole lot of trouble living independently. They ended up having their share of accidents when they got the keys. Where was your mind when this sort of thing took place? I don't know. Okay. She doesn't know. He doesn't know. You see, we've got to safeguard those individuals who we know. They may not ever admit that they're slowly but surely losing their minds. We've got to safeguard them from self-harm, because sometimes those voices in their head want them to self-harm. We've got to be individuals that don't feed into their delusional thinking and their hallucinations, but individuals who know how to pick up the phone and call for some help. We've got to be vigilant in making sure that they get the necessary resources. And when we don't particularly like what someone has reported back to us concerning a relative whose mind is slowly but surely going, we shouldn't be fighting up against that. We should be thinking about our own experiences, or listening to what the teachers and the doctors and, people who have been around them have noticed. Don't take it personal. You see, that's their job, to find out what is going on. And if you've taken them to 2, 3, 4, 5 different people and still it's the same report that there's something going on mentally, believe it. Cast the titles and the sentimental out the window. Believe it. I've had relatives who they know that things wasn't quite right. So what they did was they called themselves telling everybody all sorts of negative things about the people around them, so that anything that we would say to relatives would be discredited. So if he shows up and gives you a long list of what his wife is saying and what she's doing, and you go along with it and you say things like, oh, she crazy like that? Well, you need to get away or whatever. And then something huge happens to the individual who's carrying that information to the family. Then you get in front of the wife and the wife goes, oh, so you thought it was me who was crazy. You thought it was me who was losing it. You should have picked up the phone. I could have told you a whole lot about your husband, your brother, your sister, your cousin, whoever. You see what I mean? But see, that's the problem with some individuals when they believe themselves to be perfect and right and never wrong. And my mind isn't going and God's not doing any type of curse on me because I'm just so wonderful and sweet and nice and whatever. When they're in that type of mindset of denial, they'll feed you any story. They'll tell you any lie. When you see a person got a track record where over and over again, they just seem to be having issues with a whole lot of people. And over again, people keep saying, that person, let me tell you a few things. And when the writing is on the wall and you still don't want to believe it, that's on you. And sometimes some people literally had to go and live with relatives in order to be convinced that, oh, yes, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, husband, wife. Yes, there is something wrong. Okay? Ask the Lord to show you who is mentally unstable in your household, at your workplace. And then ask the Lord to give you the information, the tools, the resources, most of all the patience, the love in your heart concerning this individual. And I'm telling you, for some of you all, this is where your deliverance is going to come. Deliverance from being tied toxically to some folks. This is where your deliverance is going to come in understanding. Oh, now I get it. Well, the family had been hiding this all this time. Yes, they've been hiding it. And so now you know the truth. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do accept giving, and thank you in advance for your giving. Blessings to you.